So the other day, I was at work, and something pretty incredible happened to me. There was this girl. She's one of my coworkers. She was very cool, very fancy, very intimidating, and I never really dared to talk to her. So that day, she approached me, and oh my God, she actually talked to me. Needless to say, I was very excited. Then she said, "Aren't you cold wearing that skirt?" Well, at first, I wanted to give a pragmatic response, something like, well, as a matter of fact, no, I'm not cold because I'm wearing tights, and because of the fabric, it makes them warm, blah, blah, blah. But I stopped pretty quickly because obviously she wasn't really concerned about my body temperature, right? How naive of me, of course. There was an underlying question that one could translate into something like, why are you wearing a prostitute outfit, you slut? Why was I wearing a miniskirt that day? It's very difficult to answer that question. I don't spend a lot of time analyzing the neural networks that lead me into choosing one outfit over the other in the morning. Could be the skirt was on sale, could be the color, I don't know. But the fact is, miniskirts are perceived as seduction apparel. And although it's just a piece of apparel, maybe in my coworker's opinion, I had seductive intentions by wearing it at work. Which led me to think, should I take into account what people might think of my skirt before I wear it? But then I realized, if you're standing in front of a guy wearing a mustache, you don't interpret his choice in any way. You don't judge him. You don't ask him with a lot of innuendo, "Aren't you hot on your face with that hair?" But guys, when you think about it, mustaches are the weirdest thing in the world. It is hair that you grow under your nose. It makes zero sense, especially for us women who spend a lot of money removing hair from different body parts, right? Mustaches are absurd traditions related to fashion and other society trends that I don't get. Some guys decide they want to wear them, some guys don't, and no one cares. I don't go out in the streets and tell guys wearing mustaches, "You weirdo, you're addicted to the smell of hair." Makes no sense. Why would people care so much if I'm wearing a miniskirt while everyone else just lets guy slip away with facial hair? I don't know if you've noticed, but there are way more terrible persons wearing mustaches than miniskirts. And if a certain Adolf or Joseph would have worn a miniskirt instead of a mustache, the world would have known a very different history, my friends. Anyway, if you take it literally, I know what you're going to say. What about a guy with a miniskirt? He has the right to do it, but it would be super weird, right? My point is, miniskirts are now very common, and they are very feminine. But aren't mustaches equally common and masculine? It's a valid comparison, you guys. And again, no one judges men for wearing them. When I tell the story to some of my friends who know me for being a feminist, some say that it's not real feminism if you keep on taking advantage of your femininity while fighting the male domination. A lot of people call this approach to feminism Beyoncé feminism. Basically, it's when you're a feminist and you're hot at the same time. First, let me start by saying this. There is nothing I want more in the world than being just a little bit more like Beyoncé. And as you can see, there is a long way to go. I just find it absurd to criticize so-called Beyoncé feminism, feminists don't want to become men. Don't worry, guys. If I had to do it all over again, I would choose to be a woman. You can keep your mustaches. Today, it seems there is a contradiction between being a feminist and being feminine. Feminist guys are accused to be feminine. And women should be feminists in a certain way, otherwise they're traitors. And in the meantime, dudes can keep on living their lives wearing mustaches undisturbed. The miniskirt anecdote didn't happen to me a few days ago. It happened to me 11 years ago, when I was an intern. After that, I have been working in the tech industry, which is terribly ill-represented for women. In Europe, there are only 7% of positions that are filled by women. And there are a ton of scandals involving harassment and discrimination and so on. Weirdly enough, I have never encountered any career hindrances, no harassment, no terrible macho remarks. Between then and now, I've never lived anything majorly misogynistic. And for that, I am the luckiest woman in the world. I guess it made me naive again in some ways, because then I wrote a novel about ambition, telling the story of a couple of entrepreneurs, and the main character is a woman. And when the novel came out, all the medias were like, oh, this is very political, you're choosing to picture a female entrepreneur. Well, my first answer, obviously, well, if it can sell better, sure, I'm political. But in fact, I chose to picture a woman because it was my reality. I guess all the 7% of women in tech were working in my office's surroundings, because to me, women now work in tech. It's happening, it's the new normal, get used to it. And I hope that in the future, a woman who would, like me, survive in the tech industry for years without encountering any gender-related issue will no longer be a miracle, but a normal situation. I am so privileged. I'm so spoiled. I have never been harassed or threatened or beaten. I have a good career. So why would I stand here and tell you about this anecdote that happened to me over a decade ago? Why would I freak out about a miniskirt? And is it so bad to judge women by their outfits? Well, when you assume a woman is wearing a miniskirt because she wants to seduce everyone or she has bad morale, you position yourself on the spectrum. The spectrum goes from gender equality to violent male domination. When you judge women by their outfits, whether you like it or not, you're closer to the ones who say, well, maybe she deserved it. You're closer to the ones who say, if they're married, she has to oblige. You're closer to the ones who say, well, rape can be a fantasy, don't make a big fuss out of it. This is not a cool spot to have on the spectrum. Unfortunately, tons of people occupy this space. A few weeks ago, a judge considered consent in a rape case because she was wearing a thong. Please, go to the other side of the spectrum. Because the reality of the luckiest woman in the world is nothing any man would want to have, ever. I'll give you an example. Celebrating the World Cup. Sorry, I know football is a very sensitive topic to bring up as a French person in Italy. Sorry about that. For men, celebrating a football victory means going out in the streets, getting wasted, being happy. It's an exceptional party. For me, it means it's another day when I cannot get wasted because I'm scared to be attacked in the streets filled with drunk men. It means when I go back home, I have to look at my back like I do every single time because I know too many women who have been assaulted in their doorways. It means reading in the news the next day about all the rapes and abuses. of other girls who thought they lived in the same free country as men. When I think of all the girls who are just a tiny bit less lucky than I am, the ones who are poor, the ones who are less confident, the ones who are smaller even, I go crazy. This is so unfair. But don't take me wrong. I know it's complicated to grasp the many realities that a miniskirt encompasses. Seduction, power plays, even compliments can be areas that can lead to a lot of misunderstanding. I am not capable of defining what a gender-equal world would look like exactly, as we've never lived in one. So, if you have trouble interpreting the message of a girl wearing a miniskirt, here is my advice. Just assume she has the same level of intent as the next guy wearing a mustache. Thank you very much.